welcome to the BBC Words First 2021 semi-final, presented to you by BBC Radio 1 Extra, BBC Asian Network and BBC Contain Strong Language, all in partnership with Young Identity, Apples and Snakes, New Reekie, New Writing North and Nine Arches Press. I'm your host, Nasima B from Young Identity, and you're about to watch this year's cohorts of the finest emerging writers that we have been working with. Words First is a talent development scheme running throughout the summer, and selected writers have been working closely with established artists and mentors Ali Gadema, Tolu Agbelusi, Tshego Khutsoane and Reece Williams to develop their work. The showcase you are about to see is truly excellent. From all 5 digital showcases, 12 writers will be chosen by the Words First poetry partners and the BBC to perform at the Words First Talent Showcase, which will be taking place live at the Contains Strong Language Festival on Saturday, the 25th of September at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry. Feel free to interact with us in the comment section below and live tweet us and get involved. Make sure you tag us on @YoungIDMCR on Twitter, Young Identity MCR on Instagram, and all of our partner organisations too.
Sparkly eyes, kiss, then skin you off sinew. They fashion your tone, but resent you when you ask for it back, copycat. Now, darling, your hand is out, but how imperative. Cloudy eyes are mixed in a mask with dark spots and cataracts. Scheming. How many lies to decentralize? The string theory of a tapeworm. Delusion is infectious. So counteract. Ground yourself. Root your toes firm into the earth for every season and sediment that visits. With wisdom beyond years, ears adhere to desire, same drive, Cadillac. Now I've learned that counting each betrayal goes as far as foxes digging in rabbit holes, forming a portrait with beady eyes. Now that you've made that your home, never put up a moving picture if what moves you is shifty eyes.
My mother's hands have bruised me black, numbered my cock and named my lack, her transparent scars, a clear contract, a pact of power plays, staged and packed with me and you and her all wrapped together. It's a skin vice suit even Jordan Peele couldn't untether. So never did I think I'd hear a poet shrink, take such pathetic pleasure in peppering poems with pre-pedaled phrases, as if waxing wise words of love and hair and patience was tenacious, as if a line so contagious could rewrite the ages and unfuck this wreckage in what, 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Granted, it is the length of most of my therapy sessions, caressing the hem of some thick chick in a dress, letting my cock pay the debts that my mind can't check, because we don't need your words. Our mouths are filled with empty sex. And maybe we don't know who we are, and we don't know what's next. But what I do know is that I fucking love breasts, and maybe that's all I have left. So to hear you say, all you need is love, with your chest, is like hearing Afghanistan can rely on the West. It's a quest for a tribe that's defined by the Brits, whose labels and papals have shares in our tint, who have bound them in bonds of virtue and sin, who have pushed them for profit and packed up the papers to teach us what bland is and then sell us our flavour. Come on, even Fanon figured her nouns weren't our saviours, so have an affair with her language and break down her gears, unbuild her shillings and burn down her wares, her verbs and her words, her syntax, her airs. Her abstract nouns you spout aren't your saviours. Her missionary's mission was to make us neighbours, on our maps and in our minds. That's the colonial playbook. So we're all now monotonous slaves to monogamy's wages. So like when you say you love someone, you just love their labours. Like when you only loved your woman when she had your babies. So let's abort colonial cocks and parochial races. Let's throw away gender and all of her traces, her weeds and her seeds that infect our spaces, her fuck fashion business that have branded our ages, our bases, our faces. It's why I don't trust a poet who wants to be famous, because I'm abrasive to wage-chasing homeostasis. It's why I don't trust a rebel who revels in nation. So don't none of you game changers just call me Jamaican. No, I am anxious, I'm hated, and I'm scared, and impatient, and I'm free, and in love, and in hope. And complacent, and I'm trapped, and I'm depressed, and I'm alone, and I'm unashamed. And yeah, I'm Britney's child, but still, who knows what their name is?
It's love. It's love for the girl with quick fingers and thumbs, clipping replays and shots. She sits cross-legged on her beanbag, in her girl boxes and one of her many oversized anime t-shirts that she owns. Today, it's Dragon Ball Super. The girl who rage quits on Twitch hand-gripped hard on control pad, trying desperately not to scream the word bitch at the screen. The girl with the foreign shelf of books that read from right to left. No, you mean left to right. No, I was right the first time. The girl with the modest but growing figurine collection. Uchiha Itachi, Izuku Midoriya, just to name a few. The girl watching in Japanese with subs because to her it just feels right, but occasionally does watch the English dub. Her watch list begins to multiply and some of their intro songs now fill her Spotify. Love for the girl who ordered the Zenith costume too tight because, well, only one body type fits that suit right. The girl up late on her sewing machines, Jacomi and Toyota, securing the seams. And the girl armed with glue guns and Ava props. Props to you, hun. For the girl styling the fro, all the locks, all the braids, all the wig for the show, and the girl ready to flex at the cons with her signature pose. Ready and composed. She's here to have some fun. To the men who said you would be a perfect wife but realised they were truly not about that life. It's love. And to the trolls on your Instagram swarming like busybodies. Kimi wa konai yaro. And the chastisers of your skin desperate to plague your psyche. Omae wa baka yaro. To the girl who's told she shouldn't, and the girl who's told she can't, and the girl who's told she mustn't. It's love. Love to the girl otaku. Onanoko no otaku. Love for the girl otaku. Daisuki yo. Aishiteru.
In the words of the Rose Gold Cabaret, duality isn't a fraction. It's fractured diamonds dictated by idols who told me what my identity should be. I mean, whether or not it was intentionally, their rainbow colours put a dent in me. They weighed me down with their density when they told me they could set me free. And that nearly put an end to me because I did a year in ecstasy, but I guess it is my destiny because that identity is dead to me. This identity was always cemented in faith. The 5 pillars were well and truly drill shafted into place. This identity was grown from crystallized sands in the depth of the desert heat. I mean, more like sand bucket and spade down at the pleasure beach. It was woven in my ancestors' remedies, basically a wet paper towel, 2 paracetamols and a cup of tea. It was enriched in the fragrant spices from the Far East. Perry salt me chips, mate? Oh, go on then, please. This identity belongs in the M16. It buzzes between the M15 and the M14 and occasionally the SK7 when I feel a middle class coming on. It's the candidate you're gagging for on your team. It's your tick box fantasy. But this identity has been reduced to your Kurima lackey, the driver of your taxi, the chicken shop boss man with no worthy story. We've all got a worthy story. And when you're a rose gold cabaret in a 24-carat crystallized caramel crust like me, you know those stories will be dripping in allegory. So don't look at me like I'm divided, because the divine made me whole. And don't colour me in, because I've decided that I am not divided at all.
My name is Joelle Campbell. Pads can be very uncomfortable, so I go for tampons. They soak up every last drop, soaked up every large blood clot, creasing the underlinings of my stomach with sharp knives, finely sharpened from finely cut eyes. I cut ties with you, whilst you cut me open, like you were preparing your favourite seasoned fish dish. Salmon. The colour of the drops that lay out and seep into my underwear when you disappeared. There were no signs of you in me. Your size had no visibility. Soft pressures of you touching me. Are you in me? My baby. Misplaced or displaced, see. I hate summers that only consist of rain. It makes winters no different, no change. I blame the climate. IDPs, not refugees, but still of importance. No names governments obliterate, just like an abortion. Only differences. Displaced people never see it coming. In Syria and Nigeria, with Colombia and Pakistan, Iraq, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Somalia and Sudan. A real problem needed to be addressed, not oppressed, in the awakening of distress. Regulations are a foundation, so I hope that the national government takes care of their next babies.
I grew up in the sticks where not many could raise the bar. Black guys my height were probably ordering fried wings or right wing on the pitch. I let my feet do the talking, so there was never silence. But our parents disregarded our talent, and they wonder why some of our lives are silent. Every time her pen caressed the canvas, you could hear a pin drop. Left her teacher starstruck. Her dad could only share the wisdom that he's drowned in. Affected by his surroundings, he was stuck on Earth, so he couldn't see the endless galaxies in her heart. Welcome to the life of the hard knocks, where key stage 2's the height of your parents' intellect, where mum was too busy and focused on making the homework that mum couldn't help with homework. What's riches to those that live on pennies? Have you ever sat in darkness when your electric's on empty, where she's gone to university but she still feels the aftermath of a degree? Dad, I know you've tried to cage her, but just let her free. That's exactly what would save her.
What if I told you that this world revolved around you like sun rays? You're as bold as the sun, and still some days you turn away from the sun's gaze. Because if he likes what he sees but don't like what you say, he might grind you down till you're weak like Sundays. Some days the streets your runway. Some days the streets where you run away. Some days you put on your running shoes and you run a mile the wrong way. Because you've run the right way for so many years, and though it seems a little unfair to add any more fears to the end of your long day, you think that tonight the right direction might be just where he grabs you. Sometimes for a woman or a girl, the other side of the world doesn't seem like too far to take a cab to. I pray you make it there and back too. I pray all day like Mother Mary's statue that you be careful who you party with. Be careful who you part there with. Be careful who you partner with. He might show up uninvited with a love that's unrequited and then tell them all you ask for it. I know you would never ask for it. You wouldn't be to blame, but still you wouldn't be the same after it. And if you want to leave, no doubt about it, you can't leave out in that outfit. You be careful with the garms you pick, because they will define you by the clothes that you wear out. Still, girl, don't get worn out. Don't tear your hair out. Go let your hair down. Let it fall from your window to your garden. Let it cool to your prince so he can climb up like Tarzan. Lock your windows and your doors. I am woman, hear me cry and hear me scream, now hear me roar. We've been down this road before, but this time it's dark out. This time it's colder. You pick up your pace, you look over your shoulder, then you call up your best friend and you say, please don't hang the phone up. She says, text me when you're home, love. Maybe you shouldn't live alone, love. Keep an eye open for danger. Don't take any drinks from strangers. You be careful on the path you pick. I know you would never ask for it. I hope my daughter still feels whole once she knows the half of it.
I stumbled into archaeology when I fell in my own grave. The sides caved in and I had no one to save my day, so I gave in. My eyes opened to me racing up a landscape which I'm sure I had encountered before, but I had no time to explore because of the force chasing me. The law was chasing me and I had no idea what I had done, but knew I needed to run, or I'd be one more missing son. There would be no searches, only character besmirchments that would serve as another nipping in the bud. For who would shed tears for the unloved and the scum? So I run, faster than I thought possible. The stones beneath my bare feet become my fossil fuel, turning, burning, churning at a rate far beyond the optimal, and the beating of my heart becomes this horrible thunderstorm. Each boom in tune with the pitter-patter of my scatter up these hills, and the wind on my skin gives me chills. Have you ever felt the breath of death on your heels? At the apex, I am met with a choice of direction with no seconds to choose, as these dark skies have been tainted with unnatural blues that carry the hues of cultural abuse. A bruise on my hope of losing the fiends pursuing me. The siren song only accentuates my limited chance of escape, until to my right, I spot what would be my hiding place. A well that swells out of the ground like a mirage of safety, an oasis of shady dimensions that may be a haven depending on the lessons I'm destined to receive. So I speed, the crunching of leaves like the jaws of the beast, ready to feast on anything it can sink its teeth into. I tuck into the well. From my new home in the darkness, my senses are sharpened, and the barking of hounds sounds like the harshest of judgments. More agents of fear have been summoned to hunt this beacon of love. The beating of my heart an aggressively melancholy drum as this watery tomb embraces me in a farewell hug. Boots sound on ground around and above. Hands disperse the light as I'm tugged into the shadows. The gnashing of saliva laced canines like poison-tipped arrows, inducing paralysis as I lay below the gallows and death descends, raining down blow after blow, crushing the life I thought I had known, the hero falling to the foe. Crown spilled out and royal blood on show, although a small glimmer of hope. My consciousness floats into words yet to be heard. Crimson life force fuses with red dirt, and I once more reunite with Mother Earth, ready to be rebirthed.
I always thought my dad was an international superstar. I was 8 when I found out he was some Egyptian guy. It was the day I met my aunt for the first time, veiled up, old eyes, foggy as a high-rise, shining scarab beetle in the Cairo dust, searching for him, in me, blinding him, in her. Marked of crow's feet and the blanket of hurled skin, they were clenching around the missing family tree. She gave me a doll that said nothing except, "I'm sorry." I never played with it. I never saw her face. I never saw her again. Before that day, I was an Arab kid of a white name. Told everyone a story I didn't really understand. Where's your dad from? I don't know. Where's my dad? Maybe I popped out of nowhere. Maybe I was an android built from scrap and oily hands, or maybe I was here to outdo Jesus. This time, this immaculate conception with no dad and only half a mum left. I was 8 when I met him for the first time, and I loved him. How he eclipsed me, this Goliath beetle, this old god with my face, trusted that he was a father. I didn't see him for 10 years. Maybe he popped into nowhere. Maybe he was an android rusted into scrap, or maybe he was trying to outdo the Big Bang. This time, this spontaneous sun creation with only an old phone number to remember. It never picks up. I'd call my grandparents, but I don't know their names. Every time I ask about them, it's a different story. So many people gone forever before I could know them, and he won't be remembered because they disappeared in a flash of silence. My ancestors are mythology, a scattering parable that survival means nothing because the genocide is in the forgetting. Thank you.
A trail of green smoke zigzags through the clouds from God's breath. It looks like a life support machine, not just any, but Oliver McGowan's. An autistic man given medication by force. I wouldn't say I'm religious, with these angels dressed as nurses, uniforms sewn from an iceberg. He refused to tablets. A hand full of maggots leaping up to his lips. They make my eyes go up, he said. If Oliver's voice is carried from his grave by the worms in the grass, the birds stretch his rage into a pink mountain, the hospital painted red by the moon. Will you please listen to us?
I counted my wounds like coins, slotted them into the worn wallet of my writing, slid them onto the counter of your iris. You blink, and they disappear into a cash register with the sound of snapping fingers. They held my handwritten notes to the light. Like a clerk not quite convinced, my grief becomes decorative. I'm trustworthy because I'm transparent. You watch me, my poetry, a gruesome gallery. Hungry crowds gape. Their teeth rip open a money bag made of my skin. 2 peas or not 2 peas spilling onto the floor of a stage. You pocket my rage like pennies. Savor my suffering like salted caramel. You are tickled by the tokenized. Sympathetic smiles forget. Regret, is this all we're left with? Is murder marketable? For a living we have to kill ourselves. I do not want trauma to become my trademark, but he took the pen from my hand. Let the blade bleed black onto paper in no particular order. An inky hole grows and swallows the suffering I've spilled onto blank space. He frees me from this Colosseum, but still calls me gladiator. My poetry has built walls of vulnerability around me, but he says my name and I fall like Jericho. I put down the pen. He takes my stained hand like God, like Atlas in love. He lifted brutal honesty from broken bones. The bruises on my shoulders heal. The burden disappears, the sky falls, my heartache no longer booms in busy open mic nights. He calls me a hopeful match struck in a darkened room. I do not need to die for my writing. I emerge from the tomb, not crying but laughing like Lazarus, watching bandages become dove wings. If readers love work written in purgatory, let them feel the flames first. He told me to write from a place of health, not hurt. He told me to write something new, so that's what I did. It's what I'm trying to do. So here's something new. From him, to me, to you.
I try to keep my hands up. I forget. Sean taps me on the head. He shouts combinations. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2. Jab, duck, jab, step, pivot, punch. I move to the center of the bandstand. Jab, duck, jab. I pause. What happens if I punch too hard? Sean smiles. He calls me a pacifist. Duck, elbows tucked, I sidestep, kids stop and stare, they start taking bets on the pacifist. 1, 2, jab, balls of my feet, step, pivot, punch, duck, duck, duck. I've started writing scripts with my trauma therapist to communicate my anger. I rehearse the lines to an empty chair, but I keep stumbling over the words. Punch. My trauma therapist watches later like a bad movie director. Try again, but this time give me more anger. Punch. But what happens if I shout too loudly? Try something like this. He takes my script, passionately delivers the lines. I try not to laugh. Punch. I tell my therapist about boxing. Pivot. That I found an outlet. Sidestep. He says punching pillows doesn't release anger, it just makes you better at punching pillows. Jab. Try and run the script again. Sidestep. I try to open my mouth. Duck. Try to force the words to fall out. Duck. Try to shout. Duck. But I can't beat the sound of jackhammers rattling outside, the clunks of metal, thuds of cement. Sidestep. I scrunch the script as I leave the bandstand. Pivot. Drag my feet down the hospital corridor. Thud. Head down. Thud. I pause. The receptionists are gathered around one phone, murmuring that a French teenager has murdered his abusive cleric. Crucifix down his throat. Step. I wonder what it was like. Pivot. To be suffocated by his own gods. The pacifist in his throat.
Hi, my name is Link-I-Ann Reid. I'm here to tell you my poem, Tu cabeza, mis manos. A bliss. Unknown to mankind before you, you have awoken my spirit. An embodiment of soul. You bring me to a passion, a new land not yet explored, with freedom to roam, to frolic, naked, and feel entirely myself. I'll hold your face in my hands, and your eyes are connected to mine, and I can see you for all that you are, for all that you could be. Your vulnerability draws me to you, like a miner to an imperfect diamond, yearning to take care of your flaws, your strength, your beauty. I ogle at the landscapes around you, and marvel at the communities that built a man so strong, so worthy, like Poseidon, engendering crashes in my waves, disturbing my land, nourishing my crops until they are fruitful and life. You make me do that stupid little smile. And when the stars hang low like the decorum in your room, I must ask myself, how could this all go so right? And when you call me your beautiful girl, I marvel at my baby boy. Mine. I'm so lucky to be victim to your hands. Like all great gods, you had your downfall, you did that to me. That of which you claim to never understand, to despise, hasta la hora en que me convertiste en una estadística. Hasta que tus manos no me dejaron cuando te pedí una vez, dos veces, tres veces. Hasta que tu cara estaba en mis manos y mis ojos te lo pidieron aún más. Hasta que el momento cuando te vi como un hombre roto, un perito fedido, un amor del pasado. No pude librarme de tu nueva identidad. Fue una marca en tu piel. Eres una sanguijuela, un asesino, un traidor. Qué pena grave has hecho esto. Habría sido mío.
Hello everyone, just a final note from me to say thank you for staying tuned for the last hour and enjoying this incredible and talented bunch that you just saw on your screens. If you haven't done already, I want you to get your phone out and I want you to contact us and tell us who your favourite poets were, and give us a follow on @YoungIDMCR on Twitter and @YoungIdentityMCR on Instagram. If you did like anything that you saw today, or you want to start your writing journey, make sure you contact us on inquiries@youngidentity.org. See you all real soon. Bye.